All right, welcome back to the program. Ambassador Olukanni is joining me from Lagos via Zoom. Hello, Ambassador. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope you can hear me as well.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Let me ask you this question, which is, since the announcement by the Central Bank of Nigeria, Naira for Dollar scheme announcement a few days ago, how has the organized private sector in Nigeria taken this news? Of course, you, the Director General of NACCIMA, how have you and your colleagues taken this news?
Well, Nancy, thank you very much for that question. If you've followed the debate and the discussion, you will have known that there's a groundswell generally across the organized private sector in support for this particular initiative. Simply because, one, diaspora remittances is very, very important. Sometimes we talked about as much as contributing 6% to GDP. When you talk about remittances in the figures to the tune of 20 billion, it's not small. And the projection is that very soon, 2023, you have close to about $35 billion. It is not small. That's why, of course, there's a general support by the organized members of the organized private sector for this particular initiative. We should not be shy or afraid of taking policy positions and supporting them when they're right. I think that is why there's been general support for it. And of course, the question of remittances goes beyond the impact in terms of the value of the Naira. It shows it all, but also the development dimension of it is very, very important. And I think that's why we have the support for it.
Okay. How have Nigerians in the diaspora also taken this news? You were an ambassador in Australia, the High Commissioner of Australia at the time. I don't know if you've had feedback from diasporans abroad, yes, on how they've received this news. Are they, how palatable this news is to them in terms of sending dollars and their beneficiaries here get Naira in addition?
Well, I must say that most of them have warmed up to it. And like you said, as former High Commissioner of Nigeria to Australia, with concurrent accreditation to New Zealand, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, I'm still in touch with our diaspora. And very many of them whom I'm speaking to are indeed glad about this. They are saying that, but the question of sustainability, are you sure it is doable? We have said yes. And I'm saying that against the background of, and I give you a practical example in terms of mobilizing resources from Australia. When I was served as High Commissioner in Australia, take, for example, Western Australia hosts a large number of Nigerians who are in the mining sector. And they were very, very much interested in terms of the mining sector. And so a lot of them are looking forward to that, an opportunity to be able to take advantage and make more money in terms of what they are doing. Some of them, for example, are involved also in the area of agriculture. One of them who is in the agriculture spoke to me about 2 days ago. He said, Ambassador, please, now my initiative as far as agri is concerned, do you think it is possible for us to support this? I said, yes, it is. It is possible for you to be able to make more mileage in terms of your investment in this area. There is also another group of people, while I was there, you are based in Queensland, who are supporting the health and medical sector. They were arranging to have hospitals in this particular area. And of course, you know, with the COVID pandemic now, they said that they want to upscale. So I think initiatives like this will also help.
Okay.
And thank God for fintech. It is not the days of people going around to collect money in the diaspora and come and bring home. And sometimes some of them disappear. But we have since moved beyond that. Okay. And I want to say that as the National Chambers of Commerce, NACCIMA, we also have a diaspora initiative in terms of linking up with Nigerian diaspora and also helping and facilitating their possibility of investing those funds from those places. And we have Bonny Chambers of Commerce, we have Sokoto Chambers of Commerce, we have Kano Chambers of Commerce. They are platforms in which diaspora remittances can be put into for impactful development.
Ambassador, let me ask you this question and also know where you stand, because a lot of people have criticized the Central Bank of Nigeria on this policy, saying that the cost of getting dollars will make us spend more Naira. And why would the Apex Bank also embark on a marketing campaign, even as a monetary authority, doing a promo, a Naira for dollar, a promo, as well as that could also encourage speculative trading on the Naira. What do you think? Is this a wise economic decision?
First, let me say this. There is no one single silver bullet to sort out either the crisis or the problem or the pressure on the Naira or the issues we have raised. If you look at the newspapers, you will have seen that many of the banks have warmed up to this. Many of the banks, I don't want to start promoting banks, because before you start giving us a bill, that is an indication of that. I think it's a policy, which of course I think is right. And don't let us, because of the fear of what will happen, say we will not take steps, we will not take initiatives. If not, we will not move forward. So the most important thing is that take step forward, see how it works. If it is necessary for us to readjust, we will readjust. That's my simple answer to that. That's my simple answer to that. And like I said, look at the newspaper. All the banks have woken up to it and encouraging people to come forward and step forward to take advantage of this initiative.
Okay, I was taking a look at your press release yesterday, which you sent to me. And
yes,
of course, your association supports this, but you also raised an issue around non-oil exports. How do you think this should also be encouraged? Because we're saying that if we encourage non-oil export, that means we'll get more effects into the country.
Yes, of course. Well, of course, thank you, Nancy, for referring to our release. And that means that we looked at things in a holistic manner. And we're not just saying that this is the only way to show up our foreign exchange. And we deliberately spoke about the non-oil export sector. It is key, it is very important. While we support some, a proactive initiative like this, and the non-oil export is, we're here to scratch the surface of the non-oil export. The potential is huge, and we, like we said in that release, we know why we are not harnessing those. So the long and short of what I'm saying is that let us also focus on that. The release in terms of the import and export shows when in deficit we're about 1 trillion. This means that we are still importing more than we are exporting. Let us ramp up our export. And that's why we are supporting and delighted about the EDF, the Export Development Fund, which is part and parcel of the sustainability plan to support people who are in non-oil export. Your agricultural sector is there. We've not even scratched the surface as far as mining is concerned. I serve as High Commissioner in Australia, and I know the potential of, for example, efforts have been made now in terms of exporting iron ore from the iron ore deposit in Abacha, which is a part of Kogi State. So that's why we're saying, please let us work, very well as far as the non-oil export is concerned. While, of course, we still tap into this remittance diaspora. And it's one of the things which we're doing. And like I said, we're indeed very glad that the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we're working closely with them in this contest as far as the Export Development Fund is concerned, to capacitate our people in terms of and then, of course, the question of our ports, which is also one of the problems as far as over 10 billion can be realized as far as exports is non-oil export is concerned.
Ambassador, when you were talking, what came to my mind also is that how do we channel diaspora funds into certain sectors in Nigeria? I did a show yesterday. In fact, the show that I did yesterday was Nigeria Diaspora Investment in Agriculture. And my guest yesterday did tell me that instead of Nigerians sending money, Nigerians abroad sending money for consumption in Nigeria to their friends, to their families for different issues, can we also begin to channel those FX inflows into certain investment sectors like agriculture, or, for example, even health? So do you think that this Naira for Dollar scheme can encourage Nigerians abroad to do that?
It will certainly do that. I gave you an example. And like I said, that as former High Commissioner of Nigeria to Australia, it is not a question of theory. I was involved in it. Just about sometimes last year, some of our nationals who are based in Perth, Western Australia. Western Australia is known for mining. Said, look, Ambassador, sir, what we want to do is agriculture. We see what government is doing in the area of agriculture. So we want to invest in that particular area. They acquired some land in the area of Osun State. And ironically, looking into the area of ranching, dairy business and others. And they said they want to mobilize funds into that particular area. So that's a very good example of what you're talking about, what we're talking about. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, we also got information from some of our members. They have been working, they established a hospital as an investment because the area of medical as well as pharmaceutical is an area which is somewhere here in Ikeja. And they now say that in context of supporting the medical, producing PPE, they also want to invest in this particular area. That is also another area they can look into. And also as we work to go beyond agriculture, please let us go beyond and look at the agri-business sector, the entire value chain of that area. It is a big, huge area that is waiting to be harnessed. And very many of them, of course, are interested in that. NACCIMA in 2018, I think we went to New York and we met the New York chapter of NIDO, the Nigerian Diaspora Organization. And they were asking us questions. How can we take advantage of the sectors that are opening up? Of course, they expressed fear. We sent some money to some stock traders. We lost money. We said, look, there are credible institutions you can use in terms of investing as diaspora in that particular area. And I know very well, of course, a large number of people also know that. I also served and worked, of course, in Vienna. And I do know, for example, there is a Nigerian diaspora, the Nigerians in Austria, and they were looking at the question of promoting ethnic fabric, supporting ethnic fabric being produced. And I give you a good example in this particular area. There is the authentic Ogun, Adire Ogun. And some of them who are based in Vienna, in Austria, said they want to invest in the authentic Ogun, which is being produced here in Abeokuta. So it is a sector, the textile sector is an area. You're talking about diaspora investing in ethnic fabrics in Nigeria, investing money to support those women. Because if we go to those places, those women said, look, listen, if we can partner with Nigerian diaspora in this particular area to develop our ethnic fabric, it's an indication. And what needs to be done? We have the Abeokuta Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture. It is possible to walk through them to reach those women who produce a direct, and they can, of course, invest in that particular area. And of course, it's not going to be the question of, oh, this is envelope containing 1,000 euro. It's going to be discussed as a business. You will sit down. Those of them from Vienna and Austria they come in here, and we also support them through collaboration with Abeokuta Chambers of Commerce and Industry in terms of, so that these remittances from the diaspora can be impactful. It is possible. My experience as a Nigerian career ambassador, 35 years, is that I've seen it move from the days of NIDO in 2000 to what we are now, being captured essentially through our central bank, and of course, the possibility of also being able to channel it. I think it is something which is doable. Don't let us say because we have problems in terms of this remittances initiative for the CBN, we will not do something. If we move at it and it doesn't work or we need adjustment, we will adjust it.
Okay.
That's my view.
Should we expect guidelines from the Apex Bank concerning this? Because I know in some other countries where this initiative or something like this has been encouraged and has been done, some of them released guidelines. Are you expecting guidelines perhaps from the central bank, or should this be just like an expressway kind of policy? Let me put it that way.
No,
if you send money from abroad, you just go as a beneficiary, collect 5 naira on each dollar.
No, of course, it's not going to be like the case of the motor park, everybody come inside, we are on. Guidelines, of course, have been issued. You will have seen that if you look at the newspaper, the advertisement, you have a tip of it in terms of, if you bring this 5 naira, this is what will happen. But we're also working closely and reaching out to the authorities that look, it will be very helpful to also have additional clear guidelines in those places. And of course, people can also make more inquiries from their banks. Yeah. So it will be left to the banks who will also be involved in terms of implementation, to also engage their customers as far as this is concerned. These are the nitty-gritty, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. This is how it's going to work. I would sincerely hope that there will be a follow-up as far as this is concerned. But the most important thing is close engagement with the authorities so that the information can be out there too as well. And of course, maybe through also the Nigerian diplomatic missions abroad, that can also be very helpful.
Okay, I think you just raised a very valid point that the central bank should also engage the diplomatic communities, perhaps high commissioners or even the foreign ministry, to be able to speak to diasporans, Nigerian diasporans.
And of course, there's the NIDO too. The NIDO, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, will also, of course, play a role in this particular area.
Okay. One final question before you go. You know, for those that normally send money, or they do it perhaps through person to person, because the central bank over the years have also complained of dollars of FX passing through official sources. If I have something to do now, I can call someone abroad, the person gives me that dollar, I do it abroad, and I transfer the Naira equivalent here to the bank account of the person. Yes, person-to-person transactions. Would you see that reducing as a result of this Naira for dollar scheme? Because if I send money through official source, my beneficiary here can have extra cash in Naira. So perhaps everybody starts sending money from abroad.
Thank you very much, Nancy, for that question. You know, you can only experience. And let me share a small experience to be able to understand it. I served in Israel in 1994, 1998. That particular period, what you said was what was happening. We used to have a few people. They come around Tel Aviv and collect money. Maybe if you send $1,000, you will give the person 100 Naira. $100 to deliver to Mama Nkechi in Owerri. Then you deliver to Mama Bimbo in That was what used to happen that particular period. And of course, there were problems. Sometimes they will mix it up. But fast forward to the time when I found myself in Australia, the international money transfer outfits has now emerged. You have your Western Union, you have your World Remit. So you can do a lot of remittances directly to those places. So the evolution and the revolution in the IT sector and fintech has helped. All you need to do, this is my phone. You can just take your phone, do your transaction, and send the money into the person's bank. And people should take advantage of that. Of course, on the sideline, you know, friends who are in New York and say, I'm going home for this Christmas, or I'm going home after. Please give $100 to me. That one will still be there. But it is now possible to conduct proper business online remittances using the advantages of the international money transfer and all those things. And I think more people are doing that now. And we as the Chambers of Commerce, we are also key onto that and to say that, look, listen, I spoke to you about the NACCIMA Diaspora chapter. We have a chapter, you know, in Western Australia. We have chapter, there are also New York and other places. And what we do is through these people, encourage them that, look, this initiative, the fintech revolution is there. You can make your remittances directly to your relatives using those, and not giving to somebody, and then they said the envelope was missing, maybe when they were collecting their luggage at the airport and things like that. But I think we've come a long way, and I sincerely hope that at the end of the day, but like I said, the question as issues of remittances will help. It's one of the cocktail of policies in terms of foreign exchange, but not only that, in terms of diaspora remittances having impact on development. I gave you the example of somebody who was in Australia. MBC, I was there 2016 to support him. He launched a healthcare and education foundation in Nnaji. And I left, and I was the one who was discussing with him in Sydney. He spent about 35 years in Australia. And he said, but what can I do? I said, it is possible for you to do it. Long story short, we were there to support him in Nnaji, MBC local government, and the foundation was launched. And of course, on the sideline, a small investment in agriculture also started. Let us be very proactive about this and optimistic about it. Thank you very much.
Yes, Ambassador, just before you go, it seems that you've been talking about a lot of the merits. Do you see any downsides to this policy in terms of perhaps inflation, in terms of, okay, I talked about Naira speculation earlier, but even in terms of inflation, and also spending more naira to get more dollars, spending more naira to get dollars into the country. So are there any downsides that you and your colleagues are thinking about?
Yes, of course. It's always very ready to. You must take up. You must recognize that there will be downside. There will be downside, but the issue is not the downside. The issue is how do we overcome the problem, the downside, and that is why we are thinking all around in terms of these ones come up. Some of the issues we'll talk about in terms of speculation, of course, is going to be there. The question of round tripping, but the issue that how do we overcome that? And I think that is what we should. That's what we're looking at. That's why we're thinking much about it in terms of how to react in this way. But but it's always more or less. It's always very good to see the bottle as being half filled rather than saying that it is half empty.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining me today. Thank you for your time. Let's do this again sometime soon.
Thank you very much. Since International Women's Day is still in the air, let me say that Happy International Women's Day. Thank you very much for being there in the forefront of gender and development issues. And NACCIMA is here. We're ready to work closely in terms of ensuring the impact of diaspora remittances, especially, and like I said, we have chambers all across the country, Bonny chambers, Elisha chambers of commerce, Abeokuta, all over the place. There are platforms which we can use in terms of ensuring that remittances from the diaspora impact even in the crannies, nooks and crannies of our country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that. Congratulating me. It's still a Women's Month, so thank you very much. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much. Thumbs up.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.